This is Talking Football with two bald guys. I'm Adam.
I'm Tony.
Tony, that was Calling Baton Rouge by Garth Brooks, one of the best country song singers out there.
Oh, for sure.
And he spent last night in the Arms. We go to Louisiana, and Bama goes to Louisiana this week to take on LSU. So we thought we'd start off with that song.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big game of the weekend coming up for sure. I mean, there's a couple other decent games out there, but that's definitely Bama LSU is always a good matchup. I don't care what the record is, and they're both good teams this year.
Right. All right, so again, we're talking football, two bald guys. We are part of Elevation 5280 Sports. That's e5280sports.com. Check us out there or anywhere you find podcasts. Also go to that website. Check out all the other great pods that they have on their website. It's great stuff there. We're also partner up with Happy Nuts. We talked about that a bunch. Go get some Happy Nuts. Make your nuts happy. Get Happy Nuts. Get powder. Get body wash, creams, shavers, anything you need.
Yeah, take care of your business down there for the ladies, or whatever your preference is. It doesn't matter. Take care of your business out there. Go to our social media, anywhere you find our podcast. You'll have Two Bald Guys 20 as your code. Use that and get yourself 20% off for all Happy Nuts products.
All right, so we'll do that. Listen, last time we talked all college football because of what you had to go down for your bowling. So let's start off with the NFL this week, and I'm just gonna go right into it. True or false?
Yep.
You should blitz when somebody's running a Hail Mary.
Probably not. I'm not a defensive coordinator. Would you blitz on a
Yes.
Hail Mary? You're gonna blitz on a Hail Mary.
Yeah. Yes.
Who's back covering?
Well, okay, not necessarily blitz, but rush more than three guys.
Okay, man.
Okay, the reason I bring this up,
I know why you bring
2
it
weeks
up.
ago, the Bears lost on the last second play. We can break down the whole play, whatever. They rushed three guys. Maybe they got held, maybe they didn't. They gave 10 times.
There's more than just blitzing going on.
Okay, but let's think about this. If you're the offense, you're sending five guys probably, right? So put five guys back. That leaves six guys. Rush six guys. Don't give them time. What do you need in the Hail Mary? You need time.
Right.
And if you rush more guys and they can block you, they don't have time.
You limit the time. But you do need guys back there in case you can't get to it. And they had guys back there kind of. Do you blame that one player for that play?
Not really.
I mean, what he did was kind of dumb.
If they don't lose a game, nobody cares.
Correct.
It's stupid.
Correct.
It is stupid.
You can't blame that one player for that loss. It looks like it, but you could. Yeah, I mean,
the Bears also probably shouldn't have handed it off to an offensive lineman when they're on the 1 yard line and fumbled the ball.
The offensive lineman who
or
has no carries on
maybe just score before the fourth quarter. I don't know. Any of that stuff. I'm
Quarterbacks
sorry, they scored it late in the third quarter.
Yeah. No, but here's the thing, though. The Commanders, I don't think, are a bad football team.
No, they're not.
The Bears should have won that game.
They should have won that game.
But the Bears are still playing well. They're still playing good. Yeah, that was an awful way to lose that game. If you missed the playoffs by like a game or so, you can look back at that game.
Yeah. And then the Bears played awful this week and lost to the Cardinals, which whatever.
Well, the Cardinals sometimes show up. They sometimes show up.
They didn't play well. No. All right, true or false? Gave us even more reason to believe the Lions are the Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, they have to be. That's got to be true right now. I mean, the Chiefs are always going to be in that conversation until somebody beats them, but the Lions just look complete. As a complete team, I think it's the Lions right now.
I would think so. I would think it's the Lions, and there's going to be a question here in a second that we'll maybe debate that. But I think the Lions are just what they're doing right now, and then they lose their top defensive guy, Aiden Hutchinson, to a serious leg injury, and they're still doing it. And they handled that game against the Packers. They really weren't in doubt in that game. They are now at the top of the NFC. And really, I mean, the Packers play with them a little bit, maybe the Vikings. But outside of that, like the 49ers, are they any good? No, So I don't see any team really competing with them.
No, I mean, it's the Chiefs and Lions right now in each of the divisions. I mean, that's what it is. And I don't think if there's anybody else that's really – I mean, the Bengals showed up, yesterday. We're recording this on a Monday, but they played my Raiders, who are awful.
Yeah. You say that, but let's go to this. True or false? When the Ravens are playing at their best, they are the best team in the NFL.
I'm going to say true to this because I still think the Ravens are one of those teams that when it comes playoff time, you don't want to play the Ravens at all. You don't want to. I still think they're a really good football team. Right now, are they playing consistently?
No.
At the highest level? Absolutely not. But like you said, when they're playing their best football, yeah, true.
I mean, right now, I would agree with you. I would say the Lions are the Super Bowl favorite. I think the Chiefs are right there. But the Ravens, when they're playing well, but at the same time, they lost to the Raiders and the Browns.
They're
Like,
not consistent.
like, how do you do that? How do you lose to the Raiders and Browns?
And then they show up and just blow out the Broncos like they should.
Right.
They did what they had to
Right.
do. So their consistency concerns me. You're right. It's the Lions right now. Chiefs are right there. But the Ravens are playing their football. Tough to beat.
True or false? The Cowboy season is over.
True. Thank goodness. Was it ever really started?
I don't know. It's been bad.
Yeah.
And then Dak is out with a hamstring. They said a couple weeks. CeeDee Lamb might be out with a shoulder injury. If those guys are out, they are in trouble. I mean, they're not winning with
I was
them.
going to say, they're struggling with those guys. So the Cowboys are in bad shape. They're about as bad as my Raiders are. Maybe not that bad, but yeah, they're awful. Cowboys, game over. Sorry.
It's
Next
bad.
year.
And then all of a sudden the Eagles are looking like they're a decent team, you know? So,
did you see Saquon Barkley?
oh my gosh, that's what I was
Oh
saying.
my goodness.
True or false? Saquon Barkley's jump over the guy is the most impressive thing, individual thing that you've seen on an NFL football field.
It's got to be top 3. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr., his catch a few years ago was really impressive. It's what Barkley did before the spinning backwards leaping jump. He juked a guy, he spun around a guy, and then he leaps backwards
over a
and
guy.
hurdles a guy in reverse. That's video game. I don't even think you can
can't do that in a video game. They won't let you jump backwards.
No, they won't. That's what makes it so impressive. I'm going to say, yeah, true. That's probably one of the most crazy impressive things I've seen on a football field.
I mean, as far as like just an individual act of talent,
crazy.
It might be the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, Odell's catch was fantastic that he made, but I've seen a lot of really good catches. I've never seen a reverse hurdle.
And he made it look clean.
Like he meant to do that.
It was so.
Did,
it was so clean. It was one of the cleanest.
That could have ended up really bad for him.
It could have ended up really bad. It could have ended up really bad.
All right, that a little short.
True or false? And I know this does makes for bad podcasting, but when Amon-Ra St. Brown scored his celebration, did you see this?
I did not see it.
He stood on his head.
Like just straight up on his head.
On his head.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you a picture. I know this isn't the best. Okay. Is this one of the coolest NFL pictures you've ever seen?
Somebody caught this picture where his arms and legs are completely straight and he's on his head.
And then he's got a player behind him that is like
standing, looking like a T.
Like it almost like a Jesus pose.
It looks like a T. Yeah. That picture is outstanding. Yeah, if you can't see that, look up the Amon-Ra St. Brown headstand on his pose there. That's pretty darn cool.
That's amazing. That is cool. It is.
The timing of that picture.
The timing of the picture is phenomenal. Like that, I think somebody else did that earlier in the day too. I think Kenyon Drake did it. It looks fake. It looks like you photoshopped it. It is 100% not photoshopped. Yeah. He wasn't up on his head very long, but he was up there long enough to be dead straight on it.
It actually looks like it was photoshopped. Like he's actually standing upright, and somebody just flipped him upside down and put his head on.
Yeah, it looks like one of those. Have you ever seen those things where people ask people to Photoshop things? Yeah. They have these pictures and they make them look ridiculous.
Right.
It kind of looks like that. It looks ridiculous, but it's pretty impressive. It actually happened. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So yeah.
Barkley's jump, that right there. NFL was kind of crazy. I mean, Tua's back for the Dolphins, played okay, you know.
They did. The NFL in actually this week that we just got done had probably fewer surprises than I've ever seen in a week in the NFL. I mean, the Cardinals beat the Bears. That maybe the Vikings beat the Colts. We thought that would happen. Now the Jets beat the Texans, but the Texans decided not to block anybody. Yeah. Bills beat the Dolphins. We expected that. Ravens beat the Broncos. Yes. Chargers, Browns. Yes. Bengals over. I'll get to that in a second. Bengals over the Raiders. Yes. Yeah. Commanders, Giants. Yes. Falcons, Cowboys. Yes. Titans, Patriots was somebody had to win that game. Eagles beat the Jaguars. Yes. Lions beat the Packers. Rams beat the Seahawks. Like there really wasn't a huge upset except for the Panthers beating the Saints. But the Saints. No, Derek Carr's back.
Was he back?
But the Saints had lost 6 in a row. They now lost 7 in a row, and then they fired their coach this morning. This is Monday. They fired their coach.
You remember the first couple of weeks? When
they looked amazing.
The Saints were
2 games.
Run this thing
2 games. Their first 2 games, they looked great. The offense looked great. You're like, okay. Like I even picked up Derek Carr on my fantasy team. I was like, you know what? This is great.
So
and
it's your fault.
It is my fault. You're right. It's my fault. I mean, those first 2 games, they beat the Panthers 47-10 and beat the Cowboys 44-19. Since then, they scored 12, 24, 13, 27, 10, 8, 22.
Awful.
And lost all 7 games. And I mean, some of them were decent teams, but losing to the Panthers, that's...
Well, I like that because I need the Panthers to win.
Yeah, right.
To help my Raiders get that first pick.
Which
that helps me.
Helps you because the Panthers did beat the Raiders.
Right.
So they had the tiebreak on that.
But now the Saints only have 2 wins, but my Raiders only have 2 wins. So I need the Saints to beat somebody else. There's a couple other teams with just 2 wins. I need that. I'm just going for the first pick of the draft now. That's for my Raiders.
You need to because your quarterback room is a mess.
It's a disaster. Maybe pick up a Quinn Ewers or something.
You picked up Desmond Ridder
from Cincinnati. Okay.
That was our
that was like come in and help us out. No. Gardner Minshew's still out there doing Gardner Minshew things. I don't know. We don't have a wide receiver anymore.
Who magically was healthy after you traded him.
Right. Shows up in New York. He's good to go.
Yeah, he's great.
I think we're getting rid of the offensive coordinator, which is probably
They are today on my way home. I was listening to ESPN Radio. They fired the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, and quarterbacks coach. Because
what have you done with Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, anything?
I mean, I don't know if Jesus Christ could help them. Like,
come on now, you trying to say Jesus Christ?
Hit a curveball, Christ. Let's not start. Oh wait. All right. Let's get into this week's coming up. The Bills go to the Colts. Bills are playing great. They're 7-2. You know what? It's with Stephon Diggs the problem in Buffalo.
We've talked about this before. Does it make you wonder? We thought maybe Bills weren't going to be as explosive without him, but they might have more chemistry without him than they did with him.
Sometimes it's addition by subtraction.
He's a really good player.
He's a very good player, but there was something that didn't click there.
Something was wrong.
I mean, Josh Allen does Josh Allen things sometimes, but he's been a lot more good than bad.
Just consistent.
Yeah.
Bills win.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the Colts were better with Flacco, but they still, they struggled to score against the Vikings and they lost the game. The Bears and the Patriots in a 1985 Super Bowl rematch.
I got the Bears. The Bears are playing good. Patriots are bad.
The Bears were playing good in the last 2 weeks. They need to win this game because the Bears' schedule after this is brutal. Yeah, I think the Bears win this game. But the Patriots, the Patriots are putting up a fight. They are 2-7, but they are putting up a fight.
They're competitive. They're okay, but Bears too much for the Patriots. They're going to come back after that. They didn't look good against the Cardinals. Call it a hangover after the Commanders situation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They better come back.
But they're going to fire back. They'll be fine. You'll be 5-4 after this week.
If they lose against Patriots, then they might fire their coach.
Trouble.
All right, the Bengals going to Ravens. Now, the Bengals had the Ravens beat a few weeks ago. They were up 10 or something like that, and then they let the Ravens come back and win that game. The Bengals obviously have enough offensive talent to beat the Ravens, but the defense has struggled. The Ravens, like we said, when they play well, they are really, really good. But then there's been a couple times where you're just like, are you kidding me? Like, how do you lose to the Browns
and the Raiders? But then show up and just do whatever you want to do against everybody else.
And against the Broncos, who had been playing better. Like, the Broncos were okay.
And the Bengals looked good-ish against my Raiders, but they're bad. I think the Ravens, I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think even a struggling Ravens team still beats the Bengals. The Bengals just haven't been consistent at all. Ravens at home, they'll win that one.
Yeah, the Bengals 100% have not been consistent this year. But, I mean, Joe Burrow goes and throws 5 touchdown passes on Sunday. So, does anybody care about the Giants and Panthers?
I mean, only in terms of, first-round pick for my Raiders. I might be looking to see who wins that, but that's about it.
You actually want the Giants to win that game.
Yes.
Because the Panthers have the tiebreak on you. I don't know how the Giants' tiebreak would work. So you want the Giants to win because the Giants have 2 wins also.
Right.
And here's the thing. That's what we're sending to Germany.
That's the game?
That's the game.
Who thought of that?
Giants at Panthers. Here you go, Germany. Here's our NFL team. You get to see 2 of the worst teams in the league.
Right. Congratulations.
Which I get. They're not trying to steal a really good home game away from a team, but come on.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Broncos and Chiefs in a bowl of a game of your 2 favorite teams.
Oh, can they both lose?
Yeah.
I can't cheer for the Broncos, but I can't cheer for the Chiefs. I'm hoping the Broncos win, but they don't have enough. Chiefs are going to come out and win this one as well. They'll go 8-0.
Well, they play tonight. We're taping this on a Monday before the Monday night game. They play the Bucks. They could be 8-0. They could be 9-0 after the game.
The Bucks could win that tonight.
All right, here we'll get to the game in a minute. Vikings at Jaguars. You think the Vikings have any trouble with the Jags?
No, Vikings are playing really good football. Jags are, yeah.
Falcons are playing really well. They go play the Saints.
Yeah, Falcons are playing good. I got Kirk as my quarterback.
Yeah, Kirk is playing really well. He's getting a connection with Mooney and Drake London.
Yes.
And Bijan Robinson is doing enough there. I like the Falcons. I like the Falcons a lot. They were my NFC South pick at the beginning of the year. I like them.
Yeah, they're going to be just fine. They're going to make the playoffs, and who knows what happens once you get the playoffs.
Right. 49ers and Bucks in a game that means a lot for both teams. Now the Bucks do play in the Monday night, like I said. We're having to tape this on a Monday, so we don't have the Monday night score. But the Bucks, before Monday night against the Chiefs, are 4-4, so they could be 5-4 or 4-5, either way. Yeah. And the 49ers are 4-4. Both those teams need that win.
A healthy 49ers team, I still would like to pick them every single time, but I'm just not sure they're healthy. And the Bucks, I like Baker Mayfield. I mean, but he's got nobody healthy either to throw the ball to.
Right.
So this is a toss-up, really. I'm going to go with the Bucks because it's at home, maybe. I mean, that's about it. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Evans is out.
I think it really comes down to who's healthy for both teams. Yeah, like will McCaffrey be back then?
Right.
Will is Debo healthy enough? Ayuk's obviously gone for the season. Yeah. Is Evans back?
Evans and
Godwin's gone. His ankles. Oof.
I think that's tough. That's just a.
I think it comes down to who's healthy. But I think that could be a quasi elimination game for one of those teams. Like one of those teams is definitely going to have 5 losses,
and that's going to be tough to get to the playoffs.
The Titans play the Chargers. Chargers, I mean, they're quietly 5-3.
Nobody's talking
about them. And they quietly have the top scoring defense in the NFL. Now, is that a surprise?
Really?
Is that a surprise?
Shouldn't be, right?
Because Jim Harbaugh's there, and he brought Jesse Minter, who ran Michigan's defense.
And they were pretty good last year.
They were pretty good. Not so much this year, but they were pretty good last year.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers, nobody's talking about them, probably because the Chiefs are sitting in that division.
Yep.
And everyone talks about the Chiefs. But the Chargers are just going to cruise along, get a wild card spot maybe, and you don't want to play them. But with defense will carry you.
I mean, they're just, like I said, they're 5-3. No, literally nobody's talking about them.
Nope.
Like I looked down and said they're 5-3. I was like, I thought they were more like 4-4, 3-5. But they're 5-3.
Yeah. And defense, you have good defense.
I did pick them to win the AFC West because I thought the Chiefs might not care. The Chiefs aren't looking convincing, but they haven't lost, so they're just winning. But yeah, I think the Chargers win this game. The Titans are a mess. I mean, they start Mason Rudolph at quarterback because Will Levis has been out. But I mean, the thing is, Will Levis is a mess too. So like that whole thing's a mess. Yeah. And then they traded DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs.
Right.
So I mean, it's bad.
Like Patrick Mahomes is another weapon.
Right. Exactly. The Eagles go to the Cowboys, and this could be like effectively just the nail in the coffin for the Cowboys. We think the nail's already there, but if the Eagles go out in Dallas and beat the Cowboys, which I don't know, like right now, early line is Philly 7 in Dallas. That's crazy to me. Not crazy. That would have been crazy beginning of the year to me.
But yeah, not now.
Philly's playing well. I still don't trust Jalen Hurts. The difference is Jalen Hurts has Saquon Barkley.
Correct.
And when you have a running back like that likes that he's there, it matters.
Yeah, a healthy Saquon Barkley is a difference maker coming out of the backfield, just running the ball. It totally changes things. The Cowboys are obviously hurt. Eagles win this, and they'll cover. They'll cover that 7.
Jets and Cardinals. Jets finally got a win.
Who knows here?
The Cardinals, like I said, the Cardinals, if they win that game, they're 6-4.
I mean,
the Jets, got the win against the Texans. Aaron Rodgers finally. That first half of the Jets-Texans game, I don't know if you watched it. It was Thursday night. It was so bad. Really? It was
slow,
I think it was 7-0 at halftime. It sent football back a few years. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So, but I trust Aaron Rodgers as more than I do Kyler Murray.
You're gonna go with the Jets.
I'm gonna go with the Jets.
I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. I think that they when they're playing well, they can beat some teams. Yeah. They can be competitive and play well. And then they just have games where they're just awful. I think they're going to be okay. I think they beat the Jets.
I like the Cardinals. I don't like the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals more than I like the Jets, mostly because of Aaron Rodgers. Right. I just think the Jets are going to win. All right, Lions have looked really, really good. They're 7-1. They played the Texans, who got beat up. C.J. Stroud got sacked 8 times in that game against the Jets. He went 11 for 30. Maybe C.J. Stroud, I should have called that. Maybe I should have said you need to prove it after 1 year. He's not having the greatest of years.
Sophomore hangover,
a little bit. The Lions are good. The Lions are going to the Texans. I think the Lions win this game, and I think they win it easily.
Well, it makes you wonder that after a rookie comes out and has such a good year like he did, if the defenses start going, okay, maybe we got to start showing some different looks at it. Yeah. Make things a little more difficult than we did before, and they're figuring it out a little bit more and making things harder for him. Or sophomore slumps, that's a thing sometimes. But the Lions are just playing too well right now. I can't pick against them.
Yeah. And then the Dolphins go to the Rams. Dolphins looked like a viable team against the Bills, with Tua back.
Tua's back.
The Rams, beat the Seahawks. So I don't know. I think that's one of those. Right now they have the Rams 2.5-point favorites at LA, which basically when games are at LA for the Rams, they're home games for the other team. So
Right.
I don't know. I think that game's a toss up. I don't know. What do you think?
I think with Tua back, the Dolphins are definitely a much better team. I think they played. I know they lost, but they played pretty well last week. I think they come out and they get a win here. They get a win, and I need them to get a win because they have two.
They have two
wins.
I mean, can the Rams keep Puka Nacua from getting tossed? Because he got tossed after he threw a punch in that game.
You can't do that.
I think that's a toss up. I kind of am leaning towards the Rams just because I think they're at home, and I trust their running back, Kyron Williams, a little bit more. And I trust Matt Stafford a little bit more than I do Tua.
Okay.
All right, the big game of the week, though, is where did it go? The Steelers and Commanders. Okay, the Steelers are 6-2, Commanders are 7-2. When we said that the Steelers' schedule was brutal this year, we weren't thinking the Commanders game.
No, we thought that this might be a game that one of their wins, one of their few wins, we thought maybe. But now this game is also very, very difficult for them. I mean, Commanders are sitting at 7-2 for crying out loud.
Yep.
They got lucky, I think, against your Bears. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, do you pick against Jaden Daniels? Or do you pick against Mike Tomlin? Like, who are you picking against here? Because right now the Commanders are playing really, really well. But I like the Steelers. I like their defense. I like their coach. I think that coaching against a rookie quarterback can make a difference. I think it's close, but the Steelers win.
I trust Mike Tomlin more than I do anything else in that game.
Oh, for sure.
But the Commanders are playing well. Russell Wilson, though, has played well in his 2 games starting for the Steelers. So does he keep it up? It's in Washington. I think it's a very interesting game. I think Washington has the offense to win that game, but the Steelers have a good defense, obviously. Let's go. I think Commanders win the game.
Okay. Yeah. All right. No, I think it goes either way. I think it's competitive. I just think Mike Tomlin's going to outcoach Jaden Daniels and their coach, and I think that's going to be the difference. It's their defense.
All right. Let's hop over to college football. It's been fun. It's been a fun ride. It continued to be fun over the weekend. There was a couple of good games, few upsets. Vanderbilt showed that they can go on the road and win. They went and beat Auburn on the road.
And now SEC fans are like talking to Vanderbilt like they're been a power program.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Hey, get out of here. Ohio State came through against Penn State because Penn State couldn't score inside the 5-yard line.
Did you watch the play calling on
No,
that?
I didn't.
It was James Franklin. That's his moment. Let's run the ball up the middle 3 straight times and then call a weird pass play that it went to nobody. 3 straight runs up the middle? Come on. Mix it up.
We said at the beginning of the year, I said at the beginning of the year, James Franklin was going to James Franklin, and he did. Like they had the opportunity. They had Ohio State right there to tie or win the game, and they couldn't do it.
That would have put them in great position to win that game. And 3 straight runs up the middle. After the first 2, maybe try something else.
Maybe.
And then downs 3 and 4, you have other options.
Right.
But let's run it again up the middle, and it was the same result. Now we're going to call pass play, and it was awful. It wasn't even close. There was nothing there.
All right.
I don't know. It was just bad play calling, I thought. But you know what? Their offense didn't score a touchdown. I think they had a defensive touchdown, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they did.
Let's do a little true or false here. True or false? Alabama LSU is a playoff game without being a playoff game.
That is true. Because the loser of that game is they're out of it. I think the loser of that has the 3rd loss on the year, and I think they're done. So yes, that's true. That's a playoff game without being a playoff game.
They're both 6-2.
Losers eliminated.
Neither one of them can afford a 3rd loss.
No, absolutely.
I truthfully, honestly, don't believe either one of them is a playoff team right now. But whoever wins, because they're in the SEC, and we know how much people love the SEC, they have a shot to do that and get in. I think. But it's 100%
Who do you want to lose more? If they could both lose, that'd be great. But who do you want to lose more? I know you hate Brian Kelly.
But I want Bama. I'm tired of Bama, so I want Bama to lose.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd love to see Bama with 3 losses.
Yes, because I don't want to see Bama in the playoff because you get that feeling like if they make the playoff, they're like a new team and they're
Yeah,
recharging.
they do it
can
all the
make a run.
time.
know
I
Nick
mean,
Saban's
and
not
it's
ready.
it's like last year. Like I thought, and they proved it. Michigan was the best team in the country,
Yeah,
but I did not want to see Alabama.
no.
Didn't want to see
Out of
Alabama.
all the teams, you don't want to deal with Bama, especially Nick Saban.
I didn't want to deal with Bama
But-
and I dealt with Bama.
I think LSU can choke in the playoffs. Bama gets to the playoffs. That's a scary team to watch out for.
Yep.
I'm with you.
All right, true or false? Billy Napier of Florida saved his job by making that game against Georgia competitive.
I think so. He's won a few games here. I think, what are they at 500 now?
They are,
Are they 4-4 or something like that?
yeah, they're 4-4.
And you were competing in a game which August, September, that would have been a blowout.
They tied the game with 7:29 left to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then they gave up a touchdown, and then they threw a pick, and that turned into a touchdown. So that's why it ended up being 34-20. But I mean, it was 20-20, and Georgia scored 4:01 left. So under 5 minutes, it was 20-20.
I think that helps. Now, Florida has Texas this upcoming
Yep.
weekend. If they can continue to be competitive like that, I think he can hang on to his job and say, okay, you have some things going here, get some recruits in. Next year you better get it done. Can't have this again.
Yeah, I would agree. They were competitive. I think nobody's gonna expect them to beat Texas, but can they be
Put up a fight,
competitive? Yeah.
Just go out there, put up a fight, show you compete with these guys. I mean, they lost to Miami first game of the year, but that's proven that Miami's not a bad football team. They're pretty good. Now, when you start getting beat by everybody else on your list before Georgia and Texas, then that looks kind of bad. But I think he's okay for right now.
All right, true or false? Miami's Houdini act is going to catch up with them soon.
So I watched that game. I had that in Penn State, the Penn State game going on, and Duke was right with them. And then Miami just turns it on or does something different. And next thing you know, I think that game was 31. I mean, Miami was losing that game at one point, and then it went back and forth for a little bit. It might have been 31-31 at one point, and then it ends up 53-31.
Miami was down, I think, 10 points against Duke.
So, no, false.
Earlier in the year, they were down by double digits for Virginia Tech and had a survivor Hail Mary. They were down by like 20-something against Cal, and then they won 52-45 against Louisville. Like that can't give you a whole lot of confidence if you're a Miami fan.
Right, because one of these games, you're going to play a team that you cannot do that against. You can maybe pull that off against Duke. You can pull that off against Cal. You can pull that off against Virginia Tech. Yeah. But when you start getting into maybe thought Clemson, but they prove they're not. Maybe they're beatable. But you start getting into the playoffs, you can't go down by that many points. And I don't know why. Miami's defense is solid. Their offense is loaded.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
Why are they
they finished the year at Georgia Tech, home against Wake Forest, and at Syracuse. So it might not catch up to them now. But then we thought they were going to run into Clemson in the ACC championship game, but now it should be. But they lost to Louisville, so now it could be SMU.
Yeah, who just beat Pitt, who was undefeated. Things are going to get a little hairy in the ACC, and I think the SEC, the Big Ten's a little bit more clear. I think maybe.
All right,
maybe not.
I got two more for you. True or false? If Indiana beats Michigan this weekend, they've clinched a spot in the playoff.
I'm going to say true because who's left on their schedule?
Purdue and Ohio State.
So let's say they lose to Ohio State. That's one loss.
And they're 11-1.
They're in, right?
So the question going to be for Indiana is their non-conference schedule was absolutely brutal. And they haven't played the best of schedules. Like they've kind of avoided some teams. Michigan's down a little bit. They don't have to play Penn State. They didn't have to play Oregon. So they only really have Ohio State on their schedule. But, I mean, they do have Michigan. Michigan can beat them, but I don't know.
I'm telling you right now.
I'm telling you right now, though, if you were the coach of a team like Indiana, what would you want to do in the non-conference schedule?
Well, you have to either blow everybody out or you need to schedule one or two opponents in there.
But what I'm saying is if you're a team like that, you would schedule teams you want to beat, correct?
If you're Indiana.
I
see where you're going. You're Indiana. You don't think you're going to make a run. Let's get 3 wins pretty easily.
So we can go to a bowl.
So then we can maybe get
all we got to do is find 3 wins in the Big Ten.
And a brand new coach
and we go into the bowl. So
I see where you're going.
I don't fault Indiana's schedule at all because this is probably the biggest out of left field teams ever to be in the playoff conversation. Ever.
I'm trying to think of somebody else. I mean,
because wow. I'll try and talk now. They have a legitimate shot if there was just a 14 playoff right now. to make it, because if they run the table, they would have a shot.
They have to be in if you win the Big Ten.
But even with the top 12, like I would still put them in, like the way they're playing right now, especially if they beat Ohio State or if they're really close to Ohio State. I mean, they're a top 6 team.
They
should be.
But if they beat Ohio State, though, then that would ultimately probably eliminate Ohio State, possibly, because that would saying Penn State runs the table, that would put Penn State in the Big Ten championship.
No,
because Oregon's still there.
It'd be Oregon and Indiana. But what? But here's the thing: like if last year Michigan got flagged for their schedule, and I understand it a little bit because it was Michigan, you know what I'm saying. But at that point, the schedule didn't matter as much. It seemed like, there wasn't going to be as big of a deal. But Michigan's a big-time school. Oklahoma would be a big-time school. Ohio State, you schedule. But nobody's complaining about Ohio State's non-conference schedule.
Which was
it's not quite as bad as Indiana's, but it was bad this year. Like, really, really bad. But you cannot look at Indiana and be like, you know what? They should have scheduled tougher teams. Because nobody saw this coming. Nobody.
No, that's a fair point. That's a really good point, actually, because, like you said, you're a first-year coach. And you don't want to schedule big dogs in the non-conference because then you might not go to a bowl at all.
His goal coming into this, and if they said to make the playoffs, maybe you put that up there, but you're kidding yourself.
Correct.
You're kidding yourself. Your goal is to maybe be 500 or above 500 and make a bowl.
Get a bowl game. Go win a bowl game.
And you know what? Everybody would have been like, that's a great first year.
For Indiana football?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, of all the teams we talked about in the Big Ten, we're like, Indiana is one of the biggest dumpster fires in the world. You cannot make that team good. And wouldn't you know it, he's 9-0.
They were not.
And they are just beating the piss out of teams.
They're doing what they have to do.
They beat Michigan State 47-10. If they beat Michigan this week easily, then that's another point. Now, Michigan played better.
I don't think they're going to.
I don't think they're going to whip them.
I don't think they're going to beat them.
I hope not, because I like the fairy tale story, but I don't like Indiana. I hope Michigan goes and ruins their season.
I don't think Indiana's that good. Everyone got excited when Indiana beat Nebraska. Nebraska just lost to a two-win UCLA team.
That's funny. That's funny.
Right.
They almost beat Ohio State and then lose to UCLA.
Yes. You just at home. UCLA came into Lincoln with 2 wins and beat you. Nebraska's not good. Stop it, Nebraska fan. Indiana blew you out because you're not good. You played with Ohio State, but Ohio State hasn't been impressive. They really haven't.
No.
They lost to Oregon by 1. Okay, that was okay. And then they beat a Penn State team who we knew was on the verge of losing a game with the way they've been playing. So Indiana's a nice story, but Michigan's going to beat them. Mark it. Bet it.
All right, last one, and we've been saying it forever. Ashton Jeanty should win the Heisman.
Done. True. Give it to him now.
He struggled in the first half against San Diego State.
Well, he had
35 yards in the first half, and I was like, ooh, this might not. He ended with 149 and 2 touchdowns.
His yards per carry are going down.
His yards per carry was still 4.8. He did have a long of 35. And he did have 2 catches for 31 yards. Listen.
Give him the trophy.
He needs to have it. I mean, at this point, they still have Travis Hunter as the top, but he's missed games. Okay?
Yeah.
Carson Beck's been okay, but he threw 3 interceptions against Florida. Cam Ward, obviously, a little bit. And Marcus Mariota. Now, not Mariota. Oh, my gosh.
Ooh,
wow.
At least he played for Oregon, though.
Wow.
Marcus did already.
Did I just really do that?
Marcus won it already.
Dylan Gabriel. Now, Dylan Gabriel's playing really, really well.
He is.
But I'm watching this game. You know why he's completing so many passes?
They're 5-yard passes.
It's that.
Yeah.
They have the highest percentage of passes, or like the second highest percentage of passes completed behind the line of scrimmage.
He doesn't throw it downfield.
And you know what? That's how offense works. Get in your playmakers' hands, and you know what? It works. They're undefeated. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But you have to take then he can make throws downfield. He runs a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was watching. I was like, we have to stop this short game because that's what's killing us. And he made a couple throws, but that's not what they're trying to do.
No, they're trying to dink and dunk, swing it out, let their playmakers.
And they did it.
They do have playmakers that can do that. Dylan Gabriel's a solid quarterback. Has been for 12 years now.
He's very good.
Genty's different.
Genty is different.
Boise State has more than 1 loss if he's not out there.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Now I get it. If Dylan's not out there, maybe Oregon probably has a loss in there. But Boise State can make the playoff because of him.
Yeah.
100%. Give him the trophy.
All right. Let's talk about some of the games that happened. So Michigan, and I just want to talk about it because Michigan played Oregon. Oregon led 28-10 at halftime. But the first touchdown pass hit the ground. It hit the ground. It was a third down play. It hit the ground. I don't know how they didn't review it. Like it was pretty obvious it hit the ground. Not by the first angle, but when you took an angle right on it, it hit the ground. They had that. Michigan was then down 28-17, was getting the ball back, and they line up a guy over the center on the punt, and you can't do that. Penalty,
Jeez.
first down, and Oregon goes down and scores. Michigan then gets it to 30, or they're still 31-17, and they have the ball inside the 5, and they run stupid plays, and then reverse pass they try and run a reverse pass with the wide receiver to Alex Orji, and he throws it out of bounds because he's not open. So like, and then Oregon scored their last touchdown when they, like, you can say what you want, and I understand this, and I'm not just saying this because Michigan. If Michigan would have done this, I'd been like, they should have kneeled on it.
Yeah.
They literally should have kneeled on the ball, and they ran it in for a touchdown. Which, by the way, the line of the game was 14.5, and Michigan was down 14, and Oregon scored a touchdown that didn't. They literally Michigan was not calling a timeout at the end of the game. Oregon could have kneeled on it twice, and the game would have been over. And they scored.
The coach had money on that game.
I don't know.
He had money on
the line was 14.5.
Interesting. They covered.
But I will say this: Davis Warren made some throws, and I'm like, okay, he's an okay quarterback.
I think he's your guy.
Yeah.
He has to be your guy.
It just the defense at times you're like, what are you doing? But then they gave up 28 points in the first half and gave up 10 in the second, and 7 was in the last minute. So like they played better in the second half, and did some stuff well. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought, like, especially when it was 28-10, I was like, oh my god, we're going to lose like 60-20. So
no, they played competitive. Oregon didn't just come out and just run right through them at all. Like, it was much better than the Texas game.
Yeah,
for sure. So Michigan has a little bit of offense coming around, which is going to be good for Indiana. Indiana is going to struggle with that defense this week, I'm telling you. And if Davis Warren can go out there and Michigan can get a lead, I think that's all you need.
And that's what we need to do. Like,
get out and get a lead.
This is going to be the best offense. And I know that's bad saying because
saying a lot because you played Oregon.
No. Michigan's offense is going to be the best. Michigan has more. This sounds bad because Michigan's offense has not been good.
Right.
But that just shows you the teams that Indiana's played offensively. Like they haven't. Like Nebraska, Michigan State, and they knocked their quarterback out. So at that point too, like Michigan's got some weapons that I think is going to test them. We'll see. I don't know. Like it makes me very nervous. I would love, because if Michigan loses this game, it's a very real possibility Michigan will be 6-6 in the year.
Right.
Because they would be 5-5. They have Northwestern and Ohio State.
Listen, I think, and I'm not a Michigan fan. I obviously will cheer for them because you're my buddy. But I truly am not convinced with Indiana yet because of their schedule and who they've played. And this is a game that they could maybe convince me. If they go out there and beat Michigan 31-17, I might be like, okay, I'm going to look at Indiana.
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced on them. I'm not. The Nebraska win doesn't mean anything because Nebraska's bad.
I would agree. I think if Indiana comes out and whips on Michigan, then you can be like,
I will.
And then they have Ohio State coming up. So it's a prove it game for Indiana. It's to prove it. I know Michigan's down, but it's still Michigan. It is still Michigan.
And I think if you're a Michigan player, if you're a Michigan coach, if you're a Michigan fan, this is that game where you can kind of stir things up. Come out, prove to everybody that Indiana's not. No. They're not tops in the Big Ten at all. It's a fluke. Go out and beat them up.
You win that game and you beat Northwestern, and all of a sudden you're 7-4 going to Ohio State, and Ohio State's a rivalry game. You never know. I'm telling you right now, if Michigan were to win out, I'd be happy. 8-4. I mean, I'm not. Don't get me wrong.
8-4 with a win against Ohio State and Michigan State.
I'm not happy, but like we talked about, I can still go back and be like, we won the national championship last year. Makes this season bearable. I'm still not happy with this season, but like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I can,
Well, the conference got a lot tougher.
Yeah.
You bring in teams like Oregon.
And Michigan's schedule has been pretty
USC,
rough.
And then you played Texas as well. Like that's a brutal
It's been a rough schedule.
You think about Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State on your schedule, that's tough.
Yeah. And now Indiana.
Well, Indiana all of a sudden, I'm telling you right now,
I know,
it's not.
But it's still, right now it looks.
But you're nervous about it.
Heck yeah, I am.
No.
You would be. If Oklahoma's playing Indiana next week, you'd be nervous. Yes.
Probably.
Yes, you would.
Maybe.
Yeah. Don't stop it. You would.
If Oklahoma was healthy, I would be less nervous. But
I think you could say that about anybody.
Michigan, I'm telling you.
If Michigan had J.J. McCarthy, I'd be less nervous.
Indiana's a fraud.
Okay.
People are not.
We will see.
People are not.
We will see,
that.
but do you know it for sure?
No.
So you would be nervous.
I'm 55-45 that Indiana's a fraud.
Okay, and that's fine. But you would be nervous if it was your team. I don't know what team wouldn't play Indiana right now and be a little nervous.
True. I agree. Okay, I agree. there might
Now,
be some nerves.
could they be proven as a fraud? 100%.
I think so.
But I think right now everybody would be nervous going to that game.
They go to Michigan, right? They go to the big house. Or does Michigan go to Indiana?
No, it's going to Indiana.
Okay, see, 52-48. I wish it was at the big house. I think.
I wish it was a big house.
I wish
too,
it would make
but
it. It would make
but
a
it is what
difference
it
for sure. But
all right.
no, Michigan's win that game.
Your mighty Sooners took on the mighty Black Bears
Black
of
Bears.
Maine and gave up. Did you give up a touchdown first, or did they tie it?
No, give up.
Were you down 7-0?
No, we were. No. It was 7-zip Oklahoma, and then Maine came back and just decided to run the football like we didn't know what to do.
And it wasn't like one long play. It was like a 9 play.
They had a couple decent runs in there, and then I'm like, what are we doing? And then Oklahoma was like, all right, stop it, and showed up again. But yeah, it's going to be a rough next few weeks for Oklahoma with Missouri this week. That's a winnable game.
I think you can win that
It's
game.
the last, I think that's the last winnable game on the schedule because it's Bama and LSU after that.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, back to the old Big 8, Big 12 days, going against Mizzou. It's in Missouri. Again, if Oklahoma can get some healthy players out there on offense, I think the defense can keep them in it long enough. Missouri's been up and down all over the place. I think these are two fairly evenly matched teams. I think Oklahoma can win it. I think they need to. They know it, and they're going to do it.
All right. What surprised you most about last week? Was it there was two of them that I was going to say all of a sudden. Was it
Are you
Texas Tech beating
Okay.
Iowa State or Houston beating Kansas State?
We talked about Texas Tech and Iowa State. We talked about Texas Tech. You can't overlook them. Iowa State's time is coming. So I don't think I was as surprised at that. But the Houston over K-State, what happened, K-State?
Houston's not a good team.
They haven't been a good team.
Texas Tech, at least with the win against Iowa State, is now 6-3. So
And Texas Tech had been competitive in other games
Right.
as well. And we both agreed that Texas Tech, watch out, Iowa State. And sure enough, came and got them.
But I with Houston's win, they are now 4-5, and I'm actually surprised they're 4-5 because they looked bad.
They're bad. They're not a great team. K-State's just fallen off the map.
I mean, Houston lost to UNLV by 20. Now they did only lose by 4, but they lost to Cincinnati by 34. They lost to Iowa State by 20. They lost to Kansas by 28. And in the Cincinnati Iowa State game, back-to-back weeks, they didn't score.
Yeah, no,
Like-
that might not have been the big out of those two. That was the bigger upset. That's probably not the bigger surprise of the weekend.
The biggest surprise probably was Louisville
Was it?
handling
Was it?
Clemson. Yeah.
I'll put that up there. But how about South Carolina?
I don't think that's an upset. I don't think that's an upset. Texas A&M
Number 10, Texas A&M.
Texas A&M have been playing better, but their biggest win, Texas A&M's biggest win.
They
let's
lost
look.
Notre Dame early. And that's it.
Texas A&M's biggest win was LSU. They beat Missouri. They kicked Missouri's butt, but we're starting to see Missouri's better. Let's see.
Right.
They beat LSU by 15, but I'm not sold that LSU is a great team.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
So that's their biggest. And
So you're saying Louisville, who has a couple of losses on the year to Miami and to Notre Dame, okay, they've lost, and to SMU. So those losses are not that bad.
I mean, this is South Carolina's losses. They lost late to LSU.
Okay.
They did lose 27-3 Mississippi, but then they had Bama on the ropes, and that's their loss. That's their losses.
Yeah.
Then they've whipped Oklahoma and they've whipped Texas A&M back to back, and that game was at South Carolina at night. That place was rocking. They were wearing their All Blacks,
So you're
and
saying
they put it to them. I don't think that was that big of an upset.
you're saying South Carolina, pretty decent team.
And they go to Vanderbilt this week. It's going to be.
That'll be
I think
a
it's
good
going to be
one.
an interesting game.
I mean, Louisville's 3 losses are to 3 really good teams.
Who's Louisville's losses to?
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
SMU, which
They're good.
doesn't
Yep.
sound like a bad loss, and Miami.
Yeah.
So those losses are pretty good. So Louisville is a pretty good team. I didn't expect them to come out and beat Clemson.
I was
33-21.
I think, and they dominated that game too. Like Clemson came out and Clemson led 7-3, and then I think Louisville scored the next 24 points.
They ran it up, yeah.
They that game, the score ended up a little bit closer than I think it was. Louisville did what they needed to do. It was, and Clemson had all of a sudden looked like a really good team. They were thumping teams.
And their quarterback, that Klubnik guy, was talking about
Yeah.
Heisman type
Yeah.
stuff right now. Man, nothing there. But Louisville, though, at the beginning of the year, thought Louisville might be a pretty good team.
I mean, they went to
just
the
kinda-
ACC championship game last year and lost, to Florida State in that close game when Jaden Daniels was out. So yeah,
All right, so you're saying the South Carolina one's not as big as the Louisville versus.
I think
But I
Louisville
can see
Clemson
that.
was the bigger
I can see
upset.
an argument there for sure.
All right, we got some decent games coming up this week. Like I said, let's start in the SEC because that seems to be where the bigger ones are at. South Carolina goes to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 6-3. Vanderbilt had that crazy inexcusable loss to Georgia Southern at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And they lost to Missouri in overtime. That was their 2 losses. And then they upset Alabama. And you know what? They could have hung their hat on that. And then they had Texas at home, and they played Texas to 3 points.
Tough.
Listen, I know you don't want moral victories, but in a team like that, how many times do you see a team like that hit that huge upset, and then they just get whipped the rest of the year, or they just don't live up to the expectations? They barely lost Texas, and then they go to Auburn, who I know Auburn only has like 2 or 3 wins, but Auburn had Oklahoma beat. Auburn had somebody else beat, Mississippi or something like that. Or no,
Auburn's been close.
they had somebody else beat, and Vanderbilt went and beat them, held them to, I think, 7 points.
Yeah, Vandy's proven that they are a solid football team.
Yeah.
They really are. And, when you've been the bottom dumpster for so long and now you start doing things, like good for Vandy coming out. Do they have a chance against South Carolina? Like, I want to say yes, but South Carolina is a good football team.
They are. South Carolina is a 3.5-point favorite.
At Vandy.
It is at Vandy, which all of a sudden is a tough place to play.
Can't play there.
But, I mean, who would have guessed Vanderbilt, 1, would be a bowl-eligible team, period, and 2, do it in 9 games?
They're ranked.
They're ranked 24th, and deservedly so. Yeah. I think South Carolina probably should be ranked too. I think that could be a great game. I think that could be a really good game. It's going to be very interesting to see because South Carolina has played pretty well lately.
Whooped up on Texas A&M.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna ride the train. I'm going Vanderbilt. I'm gonna stand with Vanderbilt.
I think South Carolina beating up on Texas A&M and doing what they've done. I think South Carolina's gonna beat them. Vandy's a nice story. I love it, but South Carolina.
All right, Florida, like we said, played close against Georgia, and now they get to go play Texas.
Well, they do have the hardest schedule.
Here's your thing: do they have a shot?
They do because they have athletes out there. They have tons of athletes. They have players. They played close with a really good Georgia team who beat up on Texas. Georgia beat up Texas pretty good. Do they have a shot? Yes. Do they have enough? I think it's going to be similar to the Georgia game.
I think that 3 weeks ago, I would have thought Texas would beat them by 30.
No, 100%.
But Georgia did whoop up on Texas. But at the same time, Georgia hasn't looked like that in any other game.
Right.
They looked like it for 1 quarter against Alabama. And every other game, Georgia's not been all that impressive to me.
Not like Georgia will.
Now, against Texas, they did. They looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And then Texas kind of spun a little bit because they struggled against Vanderbilt a little bit, but they still are 7-1. I don't think Texas is overlooking Florida. I think the fact that Florida played with Georgia for so long, Texas is going to be really focused on the game.
Yeah.
I think Texas wins this by double digits, but don't be surprised if Florida's in it.
Okay. Yeah, it's in Austin too. That'll help a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Florida I think keeps this close. Or did they let everything they have go against Georgia and then they can't get up again? That's tough. I think Florida plays them close. Texas wins. I don't know about double digits though. Texas 21.5. That seems like a lot.
Georgia goes to Ole Miss. Georgia's a 2.5-point favorite, which is a little surprising
low.
because Ole Miss hasn't looked all that impressive either. Like some of these teams keep winning a little bit. Like, do you think there's a favorite?
No. This is one of those years where there is a lot of teams. Like 5 or 6, 7 teams. I could probably think of 7 teams right now that could get hot and go on a run and win the whole thing. Ole Miss looks bad at some point, and then they look really, really good at some point. I don't know what Ole Miss team's going to show up. 2.5-point favorite for Georgia seems low. I think Georgia takes it to them. I really do.
I hope not. I want Ole Miss to win.
No, I do too.
Like, I'm tired of Georgia.
I agree.
I'm tired of all that. It'd be great to have Georgia and Alabama both have 2 losses at least right now, and you do that. I don't know what Georgia team shows up. Like, because we thought Carson Beck could play pretty well, and then he throws 3 interceptions against Florida. Yeah, you look at Georgia's schedule, and it's like I said, they looked great for a quarter against Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is their games.
They
looked for 1 half against Clemson when they beat them 30.
Yep.
But they beat Kentucky 13-12. They did beat Auburn 31-13. Okay, cool. They beat Mississippi 41-31. And outside of the first half against Texas, they just kind of cruised in the second half to win the game. And then they did beat Florida by 14, but like you said, with 5 minutes left, it's tied. So like none of those games are all that impressive. They beat Tennessee Tech 48-3. Tennessee Tech's not even an FBS school. Like, it's barely an FCS school. So like, there's not much that Georgia's done that you're like, you know what, definitely going to win this game.
The other thing is Georgia's in the last couple of years has only lost is to a team named Bama. Like, they've only lost to Bama over the last few years. Like that just sits in my head. Like, they just don't lose to anybody. It's not named Alabama. Now, can Ole Miss come in and pull this off? Man, I just don't know. I just don't know. I trust Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost to LSU and Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky can be funny. I get it. And LSU's not bad.
But Kentucky's been throttled the last couple games too. So like,
right. I just don't know.
But Kentucky
played
beat
Georgia close.
Kentucky beat Ole Miss.
And they played Georgia close.
All right, Bama goes to LSU.
This is always a fun one.
It's a fun one.
It's
a night game. It's in LSU, which is in the swamp. No. Death Valley. It's not the swamp. Sorry, Florida fans.
I mean, it might actually literally be
a swamp. Yeah, that's I think where I had this going.
It's literally the bayou,
but it's not what they call the swamp. So I don't know. I want LSU to win this game, but don't like. Could this be this? You don't want when the Chiefs and Broncos to play either team to win. I don't want either one of these ones.
I'd like to both them come out here with 3 losses, but it's just not going to happen. In all honesty, yes, I want Bama to lose, and I think they do. I think LSU, just because it's at home. I think it's at home. LSU plays better at home, and they're going to win this game.
Listen, and this is all relative because obviously they are top 25 teams, and I do think they're top 25 teams in the country. I really do. But I don't think either one of these teams is really that great. Like they're
LSU lost to USC for crying out
who
loud.
just lost to Washington and now is
USC's barely 500, are they?
Yeah, it's not good for Lincoln Riley at USC.
LSU lost to Texas.
Lincoln Riley thought he was doing something by going to USC.
He was like, I'll look good in the Pac-12. Oh, wait, we're going
to Big Ten, and now it's not working out. And he's still losing the teams in the Pac-12. I think – I'm sorry, they're the Big Ten, but they're still – I think that Alabama wins this game, but I don't want them to. I just don't think LSU's good.
I don't know. I mean, Bama looks great against Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, LSU loses to Texas A&M, who may be good, but then got blown out by South Carolina. Like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't know. Vanderbilt still beating Bama still bothers me a little bit, even though Vandy's better than they were. I still think LSU wins because it's at home. I'm just going to go with the home team there.
Okay.
If this was in Tuscaloosa, I'd go with Bama.
All right. Another interesting game. Colorado goes to Texas Tech. Colorado is now ranked 21. They're 6-2. But Texas Tech obviously just got done beating Iowa State. Colorado seems to be hanging on by the chin.
Just
the hair on the chinny chin chin.
They just won't go away.
They won't. I wish they would.
I would kind of wish they would go away as well. Can Texas Tech pull this off?
Yes.
Yes, they can.
Do I think they will?
It's in Lubbock.
Do I think they will? Yes. I'm going Texas Tech. My upset pick of the week.
Yes, I agree.
Texas Tech.
I'm on the Texas Tech bandwagon. We jumped out a little bit last week saying Iowa State, watch out. We were right. Colorado, you're in trouble. Texas Tech's going to win this game.
Another upset alert would be Virginia Tech playing Clemson at Virginia Tech. That is a 3:30 game, though, but the Enter Sandman is going to be playing loud there.
Virginia Tech's okay. I think Clemson coming off a loss. I think Dabo will have them fired up. I think Clemson comes out, plays much better football, and they're going to win that game. And Louisville's better than Virginia Tech.
All right. Does Notre Dame cover against Florida State? They are 26-point favorites. Florida State is 1-8. Everybody talking about Michigan falling off. Florida State was undefeated in the regular season last year, mind you, and they're 1-8 right now.
Now,
Notre Dame's a 26-point favorite.
26. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. They're going to cover that.
I don't think they cover.
Really?
I think Florida State stays in this game.
Really?
I do.
You want them to?
I do want them to.
But seriously, Florida State's bad.
I don't think Florida State can win this game.
No.
I think they stay under 20.
Okay, maybe. I'm going to maybe, but I'm going to go, no, Notre Dame's going to cover.
All right. Who's Oklahoma got this weekend?
Missouri.
Oh, that's right.
This is their last, I think their last chance to get bowl eligible is they have to win this game.
They have to.
If they don't, it's Bama, LSU after this.
And it is Missouri. Missouri's 2.5. You know what? I like Oklahoma in this game. I think Oklahoma finds a way to win this game.
Okay.
I'm not convinced with Missouri.
Right.
I mean, they should have lost to Vanderbilt. They should have lost to somebody else that they won late against Auburn. They should have lost to Auburn. They only beat Boston College by 6. Like, I think Oklahoma wins this game.
I think this is two teams that are pretty evenly matched, and I think this is a good chance for Oklahoma. They had Maine the week before. It kind of helps out a little bit.
I mean, a win's a win.
That helps. This is Oklahoma's chance to get bowl eligible, and they're going to do it. They're going to win this game.
All right.
And then lose the next two. Well, 6 and
Let's
6.
see what we got here. Let's go through some of these just big lines real quick. Oregon 25 over Maryland. Cover, yes or no?
No, I don't think so. That's a lot.
All right.
20 maybe, but not 25.
Maryland has played decent at times. I think Oregon covers.
Okay.
I think they win by more than 25. All right. Indiana 14 over Michigan, but you've already said you think Michigan wins the game. So
14 is way too much. Definitely take that line.
Oh.
Michigan wins straight up.
Ohio State 37.5 over Purdue.
Purdue's not good.
They're not, but that is a lot of points.
Man, how many years ago was it when Purdue had like 4 interceptions?
It was a little bit ago, and they whipped Ohio State.
Right. Purdue.
That's not that team. That's not this team.
I don't think they cover. They're going to win by like 30, which won't cover, right?
No, it's 37.5.
Yeah, they're going to win by 30. They won't cover.
Let's see if there's another big
It'll
one.
be like 40 to 10.
Tennessee's 24 over Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think they'll cover that.
Mississippi State's not good, but Tennessee's offense does not look great.
That's true. They have struggled a little bit.
All right, last thing, real quick. If you had to pick a favorite in the college football right now, who would it be?
To win it all.
Yes, right now.
Gosh, I knew.
Not all your money, but if you had to put a sizable sum of money, who would you pick?
Tim, I hate this pick, but I can't deny the fact that the only team that they've lost to in the last couple of years is Alabama. It's Georgia, I think. I know Beck just threw like 27 interceptions last game against Florida. I know, but they keep beating everybody not named Alabama. I just think Georgia right now, what they did to Texas, it's hard to pick against them. The Georgia-Oregon matchup would be really good, but I'm going to go with Georgia. What about you?
Oregon.
I think those are the only two logical.
I mean, honestly,
right
I think
now.
it's Oregon. I think, yes, we said Dylan Gabriel just dinking and dunking, but you know what? It works.
It's working.
It's like last year Michigan ran the ball a ton. It worked.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy was a capable quarterback, very capable, but they didn't need to do anything. And Oregon right now, they're getting into athletes. I swear to God, they had like 7 receivers that were good. I'm like, can you give a couple of them to Michigan? Because like, this is ridiculous. Like, we have a great tight end, and our receivers suck.
Right.
So I think it's Oregon, but I don't disagree with Georgia. If I had to pick like top 4, I would go Texas, Oregon, Georgia, and
the fourth one's kind of
hard because I don't really trust Ohio State with Will Howard. Do you trust him to win a game for you?
No, I still don't trust Will Howard. Is Indiana on your list at all? After this
weekend.
Okay.
I mean, if they go and whip Michigan, then yeah, they're up there. They really are.
Is Penn State on your list?
They have James Franklin as a coach. Do they still have James Franklin as a coach?
He's still their coach.
Then no.
No. I mean, Miami?
No.
But you trust Cam Ward to win your game.
I do trust Cam Ward. Like, if they're down in a game, they're still in it because of Cam Ward. Yes. If Ohio State was down like Miami was, they don't win games. Right. They don't win games. Right. Carson Beck can lead teams back with Georgia. Quinn Ewers, I think, can lead teams back. Arch Manning could if he was there. Cam Ward has proven he can do it. I think Dylan Gabriel could. He's been there for 18 years. So he's been there for
like 5 years at UCF.
No, before he left.
Then he went to Oklahoma.
Two. Was he at Oklahoma for 2 or 1?
2 because he got hurt. Didn't he?
Yeah, he got hurt at UCF. Like major injury.
That's right.
There's not a lot of but this is the year. Like, I think there's less of a favorite than there's ever been. Like the 2 years previous to Michigan. Georgia. It was Georgia. Even
and maybe even Bama.
I thought Michigan was really good. They got upset by TCU. They could have given Georgia a battle if they would play.
Yeah, I think so too.
Georgia was the favorite last year. I think it was Michigan. Michigan was the favorite.
The whole time.
You know, and before that, you've had those years where it's either been Bama or Georgia or Clemson's been in there. Ohio State's been in there a couple times, but like there's been that clear cut favorite. I don't think there's a favorite this year.
There's not even clear cut in the Big Ten right now.
Right.
Like I can think of 3 teams in the Big Ten, maybe 4 that could challenge this.
Because I don't trust Will Howard to make plays, but Ohio State obviously could have beat Oregon.
Yeah. And I don't
trust
in that game. Indiana, but until they lose, who am I, right?
I mean, they actually trailed against Michigan State. It was the first game they trailed all year. They were down 10-0.
Oh, they were.
They were down 10-0 and then
Okay.
rolled off 47 straight points.
Maybe they needed that. But Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State, I think those are all four good, capable teams in the Big Ten right now that could win it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Big 12, I just think the winner, that's done right away. BYU's probably going to win that unless Utah beats them this week. I don't know.
I mean, that's a holy war. They call it the holy war. It's a huge rivalry,
right.
like
Serious
religious rivalry. You know, like
beyond football.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's some wild stuff that goes on there. So it's some good football. Like it's I like. We argue about this, you know, again later because this week the first bowl, or the CFP rankings come out this week, so we can really argue about that next week,
For sure.
and then come back with, you know, is Indiana for real? You know, did Purdue trip over Ohio State? That'd be a no. And then those SEC games, that'd be pretty good. And then we'll get into the NFL. Hopefully the Bears don't give up another Hail Mary and your Raiders continue to lose.
I mean, that's where I'm at. This
you need to be. It got to that point last year with the Bears.
And look, it's paid off for you. You built a team. You got a quarterback. Looks like could be solid for you. So go Raiders to lose.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to say it, but it's true. At this point, you're not getting anywhere.
No. What's the third win get us? 6 pick again? Yeah.
Desmond Ridder.
Oh, stop.
All right, we'll come back. We'll argue the CFP playoff. I'm sure we're gonna have some arguments with that, and then, you know, maybe we'll get back into should there be a 12-team playoff. I think there should. Tony still is on the fence. But until then, we'll come back next week. Until then, I'm Adam.
I'm Tony. Thanks for listening.